Hi Year 11. So this video is going to talk you through your nature play investigation. So the first couple of things to keep in mind are the 600 word count, and that's extra important because you're going to be presenting in a multimodal form, so a PowerPoint or something similar that you like. So it can be a little bit trickier to keep tabs on the word count when everything's not on the same page. So please be mindful of that and don't go overboard and write too much. The other thing to keep in mind is it's an investigation. So therefore you need to make sure that you include referencing in text as well as a reference list at the end, and that you also are encouraged for this task to have primary and secondary sources. So it will require you to go and speak with some people, and we'll get to that shortly about where to include that. Okay, let's get started. So the question is, what is the importance of nature play and how can more of it be encouraged for young children? So we're really looking at nature play, but rather than just listing what it is, we're looking at the importance of it and how we can encourage more of it for young children. What I've done is I've broken down into slides exactly what you need to include. Now, if you find you have a lot of information for some of these, you can add extra. This is definitely a minimum though, you don't want any less than what I have indicated. So on slide 1, what is nature play? Providing a definition or an explanation and perhaps some examples, pretending that the reader is not familiar with what nature play is. So a clear definition followed by a couple of other sentences explaining what you mean by that, and you might provide a couple of examples as to what that might include, such as an activity. Then we go into the discussion. So slide 2, you need to indicate why nature play is so important, particularly in today's society. Okay, because there is research showing that children aren't spending as much time outdoors as they have in previous generations. So you might be able to find some statistics here about the time kids are spending outdoors, or some data or research about why it's so important in today's society that kids are getting out and being within nature. Slide 3, what are some of the overall benefits? Okay, so we're going to talk about why it's important in today's society and then clearly list some benefits for kids. Okay, not for adults, for kids. We always focus on them. I'm giving you a guide here to aim to at least list 5 benefits of nature play, and that can be anything from something physically to their mental health to their immune system. There's the whole range of things that you will be able to find. Now we go into the analysis, all right, where we have a look at nature play in action. So here I have listed 2 areas of child development that nature play promotes. Okay, so after you've watched some clips and done a bit of research, you'll find that there are some particular things that nature play helps our kids develop. So if we think back to the different areas of development, we have the social emotional, the cognitive, so the brain, and the physical development are the 3 major areas. Okay, so you might choose one of those for each of these, area 1, area 2. Or you may find that you want to talk about something a little bit more specific within cognitive development, for example, their language, or something more specific within social emotional development, such as making friends or being creative. So it's quite fine to cover a whole, what we would call an umbrella or a whole topic, as in physical, the cognitive, or the social emotional, or something a bit more specific, up to you and what information you find. You would then talk about how nature play has a positive impact on this area of development, okay? And you would want to provide an example of how or what sort of activity or who says this, okay? And if you had some primary sources who could back this up, this is where you could possibly include some primary information. It's not essential here, it's an option, but you definitely could. Then you repeat the same thing but with a different area of development. Again, how does it have a positive effect on this area, nature play, and providing an example or a primary source. So who tells us that? How can kids promote it? We then go down to recommendations. Now this is where it is basically essential that you do get some primary research. You're going to choose one of the following based on who you think you have available to talk to you and answer a couple of questions for an interview. Could you talk to someone who has kids at home? Could you talk to someone who works in a childcare centre or has a child that goes to childcare and is familiar with their facilities? Could you talk to someone about kindy? Could you talk to someone about junior primary school? Okay, I'm sure you can all find someone within those 4 categories. First of all, you're going to ask and either go and observe or ask them, what nature play do kids have available to them at whichever you've chosen, okay? So whether it's at home or at kindy. So for example, at home, kids might be able to play in their backyard. They might have a sandpit, a tree they climb, and they might have a veggie patch that they've grown with their family. Or at kindy, maybe there is a nature craft section, or maybe there is a little creek with some running water that they go and visit once a week, or so you're finding out what it is that they do in terms of nature play. So anything that's available that is nature based. So that's coming from your source. Secondly, you're then going to suggest 2 other ways that they can add more nature play. So you need to base this on what they already have and suggest 2 things that are different and suitable for that location. So what you would suggest for a home might be very different to what you would suggest for a primary school. Okay, so from what you have read about nature play and the different types and the different things that could mean, what would you suggest they add if they said to you, look, we'd like to do more nature play, what would suit my home, or what would suit my school, my kindy? Right, and you're providing 2 suggestions. Primary research should be included here, okay? So it's very hard to do this section without primary research. Don't forget, being a PowerPoint, images can be included to help explain. Now that can be incorporated in this section, the last section, these suggestions, or you can actually include images right throughout. Okay. Lastly, don't forget to use SLASA and ensure you have referenced correctly in text and in a reference list. Just so you're aware, there is some articles below, and there's also a PowerPoint on Live Tiles that you can refer to get some information and some head starts. Now, lastly, we have a section here. Now I'm on the task sheet page. I've provided 3 resources online, secondary sources that you can use for your PowerPoint here. And then it's important that you find 3 of your own as well. So you're aiming for 5 secondary. And then it would be good to have 1 to 2 primary sources here as well. Okay, so that's just indicating how many you should have and giving you a head start with 3 places you can look. Hope that helps. As always, if you need more help, please ask in class.